Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, and I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We got a lot to talk about. Tony Hills will be joining us. It's hump day with Hills, obviously, so we'll get in a little trench church here in about 20 minutes or so, 20, 30 minutes, somewhere around there. But we got to talk about basketball right off the bat, guys, because Texas advances. They beat North Carolina State last night, 68-66.
Hey, Jerry, if Texas doesn't watch out, we may have to add a Tremont Mark jump shot to that intro that we had there. Some heroics from Texas down the stretch. Weird how it got to that point. NC State hit 3 consecutive contested three-point shots to get the game within reach, and even had the ball with a chance to go up and was at the foul line to go ahead by 1, but they missed one of the free throws. And then Tremont Marks dead-eyed a jump shot with about 1 second left to go to put Texas over the top. It was a back-and-forth game that Texas controlled most of the time, but Jerry, this right here, thanks to the Texas social media team for sharing this earlier today or last night. That's the bucket that did it for the Longhorns.
Yeah, I mean, that's look, it's a typical NCAA tournament game in a lot of ways. Teams didn't NC State didn't shoot the ball. Then going into the game, the one thing we said on this show was Texas had to defend the 3-point line almost like their season and life depended on it. And they did that. NC State had 3 made threes and was shooting, I think, 20% from 3 until the last 3 makes. They did a really good job defending the 3-point line. The other thing was Texas had to own the glass against NC State. NC State, not a big team on the interior. Texas won the battle of boards 45-33 plus 12. For those wondering, that's the 27th game this year Texas has out-rebounded the opponent, and that was the 13th game they've out-rebounded an opponent by double digits. So I think Texas did 2 of the main things they had to do in the game. Now, outside of that, some guys didn't have their – Dalen Swain missed 2 or 3 shots he's made all year. He still ended up with 13, 8, 4 assists, and 2 steals. A couple of those, 3 of those makes from the game looking different for him offensively. No guys are – not an entire team's going to play well offensively at the same time. That's very rare, right? NC State really didn't want Jordan Pope to shoot the basketball uncontested in rhythm last night. He was game planned for in that game. NC State doubled Matas from the start. Anytime he caught the ball in the paint in which they could get there to double, they doubled. NC State literally didn't guard Kendall Weaver. They said, you know what? If you make a few buckets, fine. He played in space the entire game. NC State literally let him catch the ball, not pressured one time. They just said, hey, we're going to try to take Matas out. We're going to try to slow down Swain, and we don't want Jordan Pope getting uncontested threes, which left Tremont Mark in a really good position in the mid-range game, which he likes, and to have some one-on-one favorable isolation or matchup opportunities, which he made the most of, especially late in that game. And then Kendall Weaver, even though NC State did not guard him, wasn't concerned about him, he's so similar to Roschon Johnson for me, just in a different sport. He just plays with an energy and a motor that makes him a leader without being a vocal leader.
Hey, Jerry, I love that comparison because you could tell that he kind of gave them some juice. Not necessarily, to your point, as this awesome scorer or somebody that just takes over a game, but an extra bounce in a step, getting a free ball, that sort of thing. I noticed, and this has not been what they've done all season with Cameron Hyde in foul trouble. Kendall Weaver came into the game. He didn't leave. He checked in at 16:27, I think, to go in the game. It did not come out of the game afterwards, and that's not what he does or has done. But, hey, we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, including some scenes, Jerry and Blake, from the locker room. I think it's going to be fun celebrating a Longhorn 60 – what was it? 68-66 was the final 2-point win for the Longhorns in overtime. Let's see that locker room kind of fun stuff, Blake, to get everybody kind of charged up this morning.
Yeah, here we go. Dang old StreamYard, man. It gets me every time.
Oh,
Let's try that again.
Blake, blame it
It's easy to do. And T-Mark, we wouldn't have won without you tonight, man. We're going to Portland, Oregon. Let's get there as fast as we can, okay? All right, here we go.
How about them horns?
Compete on 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Hey, they lost this game last year to they lost this game last year to Xavier and Sean Miller, right? That's one of the things that was the impetus behind hiring Sean Miller and letting go of Rodney Terry. So now they're headed out to Portland to play a BYU team, Jerry, that has, I'm told, one of the top handful of players in college basketball, if not the very best. So we'll see what the Longhorns can do on Thursday there.
Wanted to mention something else on the game. Because the game within the game, how fast it moves. Everybody saw in Texas did not execute well last night against the pressure. When Matas fouled out, NC State could max pressure Texas without being scared of giving up a bunny on the other end. But Texas didn't handle that well. But the interesting thing with the game within the game there is Texas only got up 9 in that game at 62-53 because NC State had 3 unforced turnovers in a minute from the under 4 timeout to 2, I think it was 2:41. So about a minute and 15 seconds. They had 3 unforced turnovers and that's how Texas got to that 9-point lead. So I think when you watch in the game, Texas played terrible down the stretch. Well, Texas got up 9 because NC State played terrible too for a minute of that game. I mean, Copeland had 2 turnovers. I think Darian Williams had the other one. All unforced, by the way. So there's kind of that give and take in the game within the game. Texas had needed to execute better. But Will Way would say, well, we gave the game away. We got back in the game. We gave them the game away. We had 3 turnovers in a minute coming out of the under 4 timeout to 2:40. So there's a little give and take there. And McNeil's second 3 was about a 10% odds in most of the time, even though he's a really good shooter. The second 3 is not a shot most people make. I mean, so let's be
fade away into the bench, falling down.
All traveled over the corner of the backboard, right over the top of the corner of the backboard, essentially. So they had some 3 contested threes down the stretch. Texas didn't execute well at the end of the game, but I'm here to tell you, NC State didn't execute late in the game coming out of the 4-minute timeout. So there's kind of a little give and take with those situations. Now Texas has a quick turnaround. They had a quick turnaround to go to Dayton. Now they have just as quick turnaround. They got in that, I think one of our posters here knows that, but they got into Portland this morning, early this morning. And it's a quick turnaround. It's a 6:25, around 6:25, 6:30 tip Thursday Central Time out in Portland. So it's going to be a very interesting game. AJ DeBansta is the best scorer in college basketball. He's the best offensive player in college basketball. He had a scoring the ball season very similar to Kevin Durant's freshman year. He's at 25.3 points per game in the Big 12, which in this Big 12, that's saying something. BYU's season has started to go the wrong way when Richie Saunders, future second round NBA draft pick, more than likely, tore his ACL against Colorado. They're 4-5 in their last 9, but they're a favorite over Texas. They're one of the bigger NIL spenders in college basketball. DeBansta's really good. They ripped Rob Wright up from the portal, got him into the portal after he signed his NIL deal with Baylor. I think he's actually going to be the key defensively for Texas in this game because A.J. DeBansta is going for 25 or 30 against Texas. It's just going to happen unless he just doesn't make shots. It's going to happen. So what's going to happen with Rob Wright? That's the key. If Rob Wright spends time in the paint, Texas will die with fouls throughout the game. It'll be a slow death in foul outs. But if Rob Wright gets to shaking and baking in the paint, Texas will get in heavy foul trouble in that game. Texas has an advantage on the glass, but Kiba Keita, their 6'8" big, is strong and athletic. He's a guy that Texas recruited 2 head coaches ago.
Hey, I want to say this. So I have some friends that go to Vegas every year for the basketball tournament. They just like to go to Vegas, hang out, and sit around and watch basketball all day. I got a text from one of them last night. I'm going to get to enjoy some Texas basketball as part of this on Thursday in Vegas. So that's a good part of it. Glad to see the Longhorns advance. And we will see what they can do. Again, Tremont Mark with 2 shots last minute, nothing but net. And the Longhorns advance 68-66. They go and they will play BYU on Thursday.
All right. Before we move on to the next topic, Bobby, I need you to tell everyone about our sponsor this morning, Adam Lowy.
I could do that. If you want to hit nothing but net like Tremont Mark, reach out to Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. They've been helping injured Texans for 20-plus years. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, reach out to Adam and his firm. They'll give you a free, no-strings-attached consultation to see if you might be due compensation. Again, that's Adam Lowy over at LowyLawFirm.com. I want to say thank you to Adam for sponsoring not only on Texas football, but for a lot of things he sponsors at the University of Texas. I think he's in the basketball arena, for example, along with other places around the campus. Thank you so much to the Lowy Law Firm for their continued support.
All right, guys. Well, one thing that we actually wanted to do yesterday, and we just didn't have time to get to it, was take a look at the 2025 class, where they are. So what I did is I broke them down, offense and defense. So let's start with the defense, if that works for y'all. And let's talk about the 2025 class.
Whoa, we'll skip the name at the top for now. I think we've gone into that one enough, Bobby. But this was the #1 ranked recruiting class in the country, and for good reason, by the way. It was uber, ultra, whatever word you want to say, talented. Bobby, a question I have is kind of from the defensive side. Obviously, 3 of those guys are gone, but this defensive class is one that Texas really likes. We've heard that inside the program multiple times, and they're going to have multiple starters this year off this defense and multiple key rotational guys. So I would say from a defensive side, that this class is coming along just as expected, with save Jonah Williams' injuries.
Yeah, you take Jonah Williams was. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I think people, Jonah Williams, we spent some time talking about him. For those of you guys that missed early in the week in the reporting there, Jonah Williams out with shoulder surgery. He's out for the baseball season, and that will linger into football, we believe, September, October maybe. And so here you have this guy that's the highest rated player on defense in the class. Right. And he may not play a snap this year for the University of Texas, and played very little as a true freshman, in part because he didn't take part in spring practice a year ago and played baseball instead. I'll say, to Jerry's point, let's set him aside. 2 other players have already transferred out from this group. Elijah Bo Barnes, the linebacker, now at Kentucky, and Caleb Chester transferred to Arizona State, the cornerback. Everybody else still sitting tight. Texas has 2 starters already that have been starting for Texas. Actually, 3 if you want to include Cade Phillips. But Lance Jackson, Cade Phillips, and Grayson Littleton. That in 1 year, they've already got 3 defensive starters. We've heard very good things about the other guys on this list. I mean, whether it's Josiah Sharma, Myron Charles, you look at a guy like Justice Terry, who, even though he's out for spring, Smith Arogbo is coming on. This, and the reason Jerry and I wanted to bring this up is as we look at the portal and the importance of portal, I think Jerry and I would be the first people to tell you, got to be great in the portal. That is what you need to do in today's college football. The value of recruiting and building the roster from within is just as important, because it gives you a bottom line to deal with. It gives you a floor of what your team can be. And at Texas, that floor has to be pretty doggone high.
Yeah.
And I think you look at a Lance Jackson, a Cade Phillips, a Grayson Littleton, Those guys are likely NFL players. You can already say that right now, and they're a year into their time at the University of Texas. Now, who is going to join them in that group? Will it be Justice Terry, Smith Orogbo, Josiah Sharma, Myron Charles? If Texas can get 5 or 6 NFL players out of this defense heading into next year, and I'm really talking about 27 as much as we are 26 right now.
Yeah.
It gives them that structure that you need to be a great team. And then you go out and maybe you find a pass rusher that joins this group. Maybe you find a linebacker that joins this group. And I think that's one of the reasons why we want to talk about not only the defense, but the offense, because we're coming up on recruiting right now as well. Jerry and Hank and CJ have been doing a great job covering that. 40 plus, 50 plus visitors coming up in the next couple of months for Texas. That's kind of what we want to see. I think they're going to be shooting for 4 to 5 guys every recruiting class on defense and on offense that can be potential NFL players. That's a strong class. That would be a strong class and provides a low bar, provides a very high bar for Texas to then go in the portal and add to it.
Yeah. I mean, look, before you get the offense, I going to keep reiterating this. The reason high school recruiting is still extremely important, especially to your blue blood schools. I do think there's some difference in the type of player you can attract, the level of player you can attract. But for Texas, look, KJ Green, we profiled him a little bit yesterday. We showed his video, one of the best pass rushing prospects in the country. We said he was about to schedule his official visit. That came out yesterday, June 5th through 7th. Defensive lineman from Palm Beach Central, Tyler Alexander, who we're going to talk about later in the show. He's about to release his OV. It wouldn't shock me if it wasn't the same date, honestly. But how do you attract players like that outside being Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama when Nick was there? The ability to be 3 years and out to the NFL. Like, you have to have those guys coming through your program to attract future ones. How would you everybody's like, oh, it's all about the Portland Ice. So you're out on DJ Jacobs recruitment if that's the way you think.
Or Anthony Hill or Colin
Simmons. I mean, yeah. I mean, so look, this is still very important, very, very important to continuing to have program sustainability. And when you can attract that top talent in the country to your campus, those guys have 3 and out dreams. If they can't see that path at Texas, you're wasting your time recruiting it. I mean, that's the reality. But then you also have to have guys that you can really develop over time to balance out your roster because you don't want to be in a 1-year rental every year in college football. I don't think that's the way this is going to go long time. I think there's going to be spots where some teams pull it off, but by and large, if you just look at the college football playoff last year, where more of your high profile teams, they're all built it kind of the same way. And I don't think that's going to change. I don't see that changing. I mean, people talk like Miami's offensive line. Those are 4 guys that were recruited either out of high school or JUCO. And then Brockermeyer's son was the transfer center. The rest of those guys, Miami recruited and developed. Those defensive linemen, most of them recruited, developed. I mean, so I don't think this is going to change with your major schools.
I would just say this as well. One of the other important pieces of it, Jerry, actually is this. As we look at where college football is going, and I'm not sitting here saying that this is going to happen in the next 12 months or even the next 24 months, but I do think that eventually we're going to get somewhere in college sports where the flat out race to the portal for every single player, it feels like, is going to subside at some point in time. And then you're going to be left with what you recruit in high school. So I do feel like there's a little bit of safety there if you recruit well from a high school angle.
All right, well, let's look at the offense next, guy. Same format here. And there you go. There's the list.
How would you re-rank these guys right now?
Look, on offense, I thought this was more of a developmental group than the defensive group. I thought the defense had some real star power in it, and a lot of big SEC developmental bodies. From the offensive standpoint, I thought this was more of a developmental group. Obviously, your quarterback was not going to be expected to play for a year, or it was 2 in my book, 2, and then you're in a competition with Diabell. Nick Brooks, a developmental player, very, very talented. I think he's starting left guard at Alabama right now. The wide receiver group, Michael Terry was definitely a developmental player. No matter what the expectations were for him, he had never locked in on one position in high school football. These were a much more of a developmental class over time. Your offensive linemen, again, those 3 offensive linemen who weren't very highly ranked compared to some others in this class, Texas likes those guys. Jordan Coleman is probably going to end up being an underrated guy as far as the national services. We had him as a 4-star plus kid, but he's going to end up being underrated by the services, I believe, and that happens. I'm not taking a shot at it. It happens. But, Bobby, this was a much more developmental group of players versus the defensive guys. The defensive guys had some more of the highly ranked guys in this class, the 5-star ranked guys that were kind of the people that were circling were going to be straight up NFL draft picks if they did it right. This is more of a developmental group.
Well, especially because of the offensive line, too. Strangely, 3 guys have already transferred in this group. Jamie French to Michigan, Ricky Stewart to SFA, as well as
Nick Brooks
to Alabama. I would say this, just looking at it, Jerry, I think they did better on defense than offense pretty clearly in the 2025 class. I mean, you'd have to say that. You could call it developmental if you will, but Nick Townsend's going to be a starter at Texas, right? Already kind of lined up for that. Beyond that, who else do we think will eventually start? Well, KJ Lacey's in line to do that maybe right now. Jackson Christian and Jordan Coleman kind of in line to do that, but no guarantee given their age and the position they play. Amari Winston, doubtful he's a frontline starter, although I think he'll be in the rotation. I think it's fair to say that the offense is lagging the defense overall in this category. They really, I would say they hit a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 on defense in the 2025 class, and maybe a 6 out of 10 on offense so far, maybe even a 5. That's just the way it looks. Because Nick Townsend, if he's your one major piece as of now, because KJ Lacey hasn't started a game, Jerry, I think that's kind of interesting to watch. So if we do see additions via the portal, perhaps we see more of them on offense for that reason in 2026 and in November or January, I guess, of 2027 when we start looking at it. I think we might see more on offense because of this.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Even though Lockett was ranked a 5-star guy, because I think this is where the recruiting rankings can kind of really get some unrealistic expectations on a player. Khalil Lockett, I think that both of us, Bobby, wasn't a ranked 5-star guy in the industry that was going to come in and be an impact player at Texas. He needed real development, not only from the wide receiver position, but physical development. Like I've said before, he's unbelievable length, 11-inch hands, right? He was a young senior age-wise, and body-wise, he's gained 18 pounds since he's got to Texas. I mean, there was a lot more for a Khalil Lockett than just being ranked a 5-star. I mean, there's different levels to those guys. When sometimes you're ranked as a 5-star, you start looking around at what other freshmen the year ahead of him are doing in college football. Can Khalil Lockett do that? Well, these guys are all different levels of prospect where they're ranked, even within their rankings. But to Bobby's point, I think the key for this class is going to be what you look is in their development is going to be Jordan Coleman and Jackson Christian. I'm looking at those 2 guys long term because you lost Nick Brooks to the portal, which Texas did not want to lose him to the portal, by the way. We can throw that out there. I mean, there's a reason he's starting at Alabama. He's good. He's a quality prospect that I think just need to mentally grow up. But I think the 2 offensive linemen, I'm not throwing Devin away. But to Bobby's point, I think there's going to be more role players in this group, barring a Jordan Coleman or a Jackson Christian in time coming on and be really good.
Well, we just said there's 5 guys on defense that look like that they're on that NFL trajectory at least.
Yeah.
You can't tell me there are 5 guys on this offensive group that are the same way.
No, because it's no. And that's kind of my point. The defense had more of the impact NFL frame bodies at different positions, I think. And I would say it's a lot like this for a lot of classes on offense. Those offensive linemen are very developmental players, and they kind of 3-year, 4-year look backs on these classes because a lot of those guys don't hit the field early. But I agree.
Big year.
The question is, can you get 6? Here's the thing I want to say about these classes too. If you can get 6, 7 guys that are drafted, and about that number that are starters, it's still been a good number 1 ranked class. I mean, if you look back at the history of number 1 classes, there's 2 or 3 that are just off the charts. But a lot of times, if you can pull 6, 7 NFL players, draft picks out of a class, and then you can have about that same number of starters and double that number for key impact role players on a team, your number 1 class is hit.
I think you want even more than that nowadays. I think the number's more like 8, Jerry.
The problem is guys are transferring out because of the portal, so they don't stay to develop.
Nick Brooks is example 1. I think Nick Brooks is a future NFL player. So we've said that from the outset. So I agree with you. I just think there's going to be the number. If you get into that number 1 ranked class category, that top 5 ranked class, I think 8 is the number. I'm a little bit higher than you on that. Hey, we need before we bring in our friend Tony Hills for a little Wednesday morning discussion, I want to say thank you to one of our key sponsors. That is Hollow Socks. Lightweight, supportive, unbelievably soft. They're 3 times warmer than wool and still lightweight. Well, how are they warmer than wool? They're alpaca socks built for the field. These are performance-grade socks made from ultra-soft baby alpaca fibers. Engineered for rugged conditions and designed to keep your feet dry, warm, and comfortable no matter where the day takes you. Hollow doesn't just make socks for the outdoors. They've engineered them for every activity. They're everyday socks. They're soft, breathable for daily wear, travel, even downtime. They also have compression socks for gradual compression, comfort to keep your legs comfortable during travel, recovery, or your everyday feeling up on your feet. Hunt socks, trade socks, same thing. For a limited time, Hollow Socks is having a buy 2, get 2 free sale. Head to hollowsocks.com today to check it out. That's hollowsocks.com for up to 50% off your order. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. You can support our show by telling them that we sent you here at On Texas Football. Again, this is alpaca socks, 3 times warmer than wool, yet still lightweight. And when it's warm outside, they don't sweat like wool either. Again, hollowsocks.com, buy 2, get 2 free.
And let me tell y'all about Square today. Support for today's episode of Coffee and Football comes from Square, which honestly, if you've ever paid at a food truck, a coffee shop, or a local store and the checkout took like 2 seconds, there's a good chance you've already used it. I see it all the time around here. You walk up, you grab your coffee or whatever, tap your card or phone, boom, done. No weird register problems, no digging around for change, no waiting forever while someone figures out the system. That's because Square basically puts everything a business needs in one place. Payments, point of sale, inventory tracking, customer tools, even setting up an online store if you want to sell stuff on the internet. It's simple, it looks clean, and businesses can actually focus on customers instead of fighting with tech. And the cool part is Square works whether you're just starting out or if you're running multiple locations. And right now, OTF listeners can get up to $200 off Square hardware when you sign up at square.com/go/ontexas. That's Square, SQUARE.com/go/ontexas. Run your business smarter with Square and get started today. And let's get started with a little Tony Hills on this Wednesday morning. Good morning, Tony.
What's happening? Hey, Jerry, I can't help myself, man. Y'all, you and Bobby, you know what I mean? Y'all were talking about the players going to the league. Bobby said, hey, My man Jerry says 6'7". You know what I'm saying? I see you, G, man. Look, you got your ear to the street with these young boys, man. I see you. I see what you did.
That's not it. I'm not hip, and I didn't even know what that meant for a long time. Hey, my first question for you, Tony, is that an alpaca hoodie?
Oh, hey, you know what? I tell you what. Shout out to them sponsors, but if they want to send me something, I'll wear it on the show. I promise you that much.
Alpaca.
I'm accepting all brand opportunities. I'm using my NIL. I missed that. I was too old to get the playback for the check. So now any brand opportunity that's available, send it to me, man. I'm wearing it on OTF every time.
Hey, Tony, did you get a chance to watch the basketball game a little bit last night?
I did not, man. I did not catch it. I had some other things going on. So, but I'm pretty sure you guys got that covered. So y'all can fill me in. What did we miss?
You missed Trevon Mark hitting 2 key shots down the stretch. Literally one-on-one moves, putting it in the hoop. Last one came with 1 second left on the clock.
Wow.
And it was a nip and tuck game for most of the game. And then Texas kind of went on a little mini run with about under 4 minutes to go. And Texas is up by 9. And then NC State hit 3 3-point shots in a row.
Madden.
All of them, and Jerry mentioned this, all of them contested. One of them, the dude literally was falling out of bounds with somebody in his face and landed on his butt in the bench area and still made it. Nothing but net. You know, it's typical March Madness type of craziness. Longhorns prevailed. They beat NC State. They're off to play BYU in Portland this coming week. Hey, Tony, we got a couple things coming up as it relates to football, and I want to talk to you about that right now. Texas has Pro Day coming up next Tuesday, I believe. It's the 20th, right? You were in a precarious situation with your injury coming out. We've talked about that before, where you weren't necessarily in line with everybody else and being able to do everything. What is it right now that the team is going through, and not just the players that are going to perform at this combine, but it always struck me that Mac did this too. He gave a week off during spring break. He kind of split spring practice before and after spring break.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of teams don't do that. They just go 5 weeks straight through.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that part, and then I want to ask you about the combine. But first, the part about the current team and what splitting up spring practice does with a spring break in the middle of it. What did that always do for you guys?
Yeah, it's a mental reset. You know what I mean? The thing about Coach Brown is Coach Brown was really big on psychology. Like, you know, everybody talks about like, man, he just, you know, he could sell you your last name back to you and all of those type of things, or he could sell ice to Eskimo, all of these things about him selling. It's because he understood human nature. He understood psychology. Like, yeah, you can grind somebody's body into the dirt. That's cool. But then what happens is you start to see the injuries and things show up. You start to see, and a lot of times before the physical injuries show up, it's the mental fatigue that happens. You're not completely locked in. You take a wrong step. You miss a block. You miss an assignment. Somebody gets hit. It's all of those particular things. So he understood that it was important for us to have a reset moment, a refresh moment. And a lot of guys, you know, to the credit of the individuals and the leaders and the captains that we had on our team, I throw myself in there as I got older. You know, we knew what it was. We took that time to do that, to reset our bodies, to reset our minds, to kind of get away from it just a little bit, so that when we came back into it, we were already locked in, fresh and ready to go, man. And it's like anything, you know, when you're doing anything, say you're working on a computer, it's already been scientifically proven that if you take, you know, if you have 30 minutes of focus, right, and you take a 5-minute break, you'll get more done than somebody that's trying to push through for 2 hours, right? And so it's similar to that. And so I believe Coach Brown understood that, and that's the reason why he did that. And there was a trust factor too. He knew we weren't going to go out there and do anything crazy. So we earned it.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is you like it, right?
Yeah.
Overall, you think it's a chance to your point, reset. And I think there's a reason that Sark does it as well as him. All right, on to the NFL draft stuff. Guys working out. It's going to be a chance for Ethan Burke, for example, to kind of show his stuff for the first time since he didn't get to go to the combine. Some other guys are probably going to do some more individual drills as opposed to run at this and try to improve their time, et cetera. This gets real for these guys. It's one thing to say you're in college and making some NIL money. This is where the ish gets real, right? This is your future, because if you don't make it in the NFL, you got to go find a real job, right?
Yeah.
What was that like, staring down that kind of thought process? Like, if I don't do this, what in the hell am I going to do? Kind of.
Yeah.
Thing. I mean, what was that like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that that thought process doesn't set in until actually after the draft, and then nobody's calling your phone. You know, a lot of these guys, getting ready to go and do their pro days. One of the things is the advantage that they have. Because a lot of times you say, "Oh, well, this guy wasn't invited to the combine this, combine that." Well, look, man, here's the reality of it. You got teams coming to you. So what does that say about you? Right? You got teams, you got scouts, you got head coaches that have gone to these places to see these players compete. So that's one. So the draw that you have shows the interest that you gain, right? Because when you're at the combine, man, it's the melting pot. Trust me, I know, I just came from it. It's the melting pot of coaches, executives, trainers, all types of people are there because that's where everybody is. But when people come to see you, that is a decision that has been made. That's a calculated decision to say, I want to see this player. So that's one. The second advantage that you have is the environment advantage. I mean, look, man, this is where you live. This is home. This is home turf. So if you want to show out about your ability, what better place to do it than the place that you've grown up at, right? So I think so for somebody like Ethan, in his case, being able to do really good on the drills, being able to do good in the strength test, showing his explosiveness, I believe that teams are going to be pleasantly surprised with the numbers that this young man puts up. Because the thing is that I've seen a player like this. To me, he reminds me a lot of a player that I played with named Brett Kiesel. Brett Kiesel was a shifty guy, tall guy, great 3-4 lanky dude that could get to the quarterback, but he could also hold the point of attack. Ethan, to me, sounds like that same person, right? And so not if I'm putting on my GM hat and I'm looking at the later rounds, maybe 4 through 7, if I'm Dallas, this might be somebody that I want. Because we're already switching over to that 3-4 defense. We need a guy like this, right? And it doesn't hurt to spend a late round pick on somebody like that. So all in all, I don't believe any of these guys are thinking that I'm not going to make it, because if they were, they wouldn't be playing this game. I believe that they're locked in on performing their best, doing everything to the best of their ability, and then letting the chips fall where they may when it comes April and draft day.
Hey, Tony, you just gave me a good business idea we need to talk about. We need to call them GM hoodies. The kids would love it.
Oh, man. Listen, hey.
OTF, where business ideas are born.
Listen, I got some stuff brewing in the background. I'll let you guys know about it pretty soon. I've been inspired by you two.
Hey, Tony, we were just talking about Texas #1 ranked recruiting class. So just to change, we're still on this NBA path, NFL path.
Yeah.
So you came into a class that was ranked top 10, like most of Mac's were, right? I think you had 6 or 7 NFL draft picks in that class. But when you were in it as a player, do players, it may not be discussion with other guys. I know that's not how it goes in locker rooms. Did you sit there and say, dang, man, this guy's going to play in the NFL when you were that age going through it? Or is it now that you're retired and you're looking at it from a different set of eyes that did you go around and say, man, that guy's what's it like for you guys in college? Well, that guy's going to play in the NFL. Well, I know this guy's not.
Yeah, no, that's never a discussion, man. Those type of things don't happen till you get to draft day. So you get to combine
internally though. Like, what about you just processing it at the time?
No, man. No, me personally, Jerry, you got to think, man. I'm too busy trying to figure out what the heck is an offensive tackle. Like, I don't know. I'm like, yo, what is 4 down in the wheel mean? So do I have the wheel, or do I got like the end, or okay, is the mic like I had so much going on, man. The NFL, to be honest, was an afterthought when I was in college, because I got, I'm coming off an injury. I'm changing positions. I'm learning a new play. I'm learning my teammates. I'm learning like what it means to be at the University of Texas. I got classes. Miss Bryant telling me about all these different things I got to do. I ain't trying to hear nothing that she's saying. I just want to play ball. Like, I had a lot going on. So for me to sit down and start evaluating cats at 18, 19, 20 years old, that just wasn't it. When the NFL thing started happening, it's when you see things like this, where pro day, right? When pro day shows up and you go to the pro day and you see the scouts and you see the people that are testing and you see, different logos of teams and you're like, hey man, that's coach so-and-so and that's the GM for so-and-so. And it's like, oh wow, this thing is real. So now when you see that, that's when you probably start thinking about, okay, what can my future hold if I do it the right way? But at the beginning, no, that wasn't it. Now there's certain players that I guess that you would see and you'd be like,
well, like if you go against Tim Crowder in practice, you're like, okay, that guy's different than the rest a little bit, right? I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah. You have guys to where you've played against and you like, hey man, this dude is different. But I don't know if you're doing it on the level of he's going to play on Sundays. I believe you're doing it on the level to say, this is what it takes and this is what I have to face if I want to be a starter at the University of Texas. That was my mentality. Like I'm very intrinsic, man. I'm not looking, what do they say? Past the forest to see the trees, man. I'm right in front of me, right? I'll take a peek at what can be, but then at the end of the day, the only thing I can control is the present. So I lock in on that, man. So that was me. Somebody else maybe, but T Hills, nah. Got too much to do today to be worried about tomorrow.
Tony, you're looking at all this and thinking about the idea of what Texas has in front of it the rest of this spring practice.
Yeah.
I got a chance to watch the offensive line last Wednesday at practice. You were on the morning show while I was watching it. They seem quicker than a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're as big as DJ Campbell. And even, or even if you add in a Nick Brooks.
Yeah.
But they seem quicker on the interior with a Brandon Baker, with a Jaden Chapman. I think Melvin Siani's a little quicker than Brandon Baker was at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
What's the value of that quickness, in your opinion? Does that mean they can be a better pass protecting unit or a better run? I mean, what's the value maybe if they're trading quickness for size, right? Where does that line up for you?
So if I'm putting on my OC hat, and okay, so first we have to start here. You don't know anything until guys put on pads.
Yeah.
Right. We got to go full. We got to go full out. We got to see if these guys can move guys off the ball. Can we move power? Can we run counter? Can we run these things? Ideally, just based off the information that's being given, I would say, okay, well, we know Sark loves zone, inside, outside zone. Having quicker linemen allow you to get to those points faster. So maybe the zone game opens up a little better for these guys because you got guys that can move better. As it pertains to pass protection, I mean, again, you got to be able to see how these guys can anchor down, especially inside, because if these guys can't keep guys on the line of scrimmage, then you're going to find the same situation that we had last year where Arch is running for his life. Now, the difference is at least Arch has had a year of doing that. So it's practice, right? But we won't really know until these guys get in pads and are facing these behemoths that we have on the other side of the ball and seeing how they show up. If you come to find that they struggle a little bit when it comes to the one-on-one, then maybe zone through play action becomes, the way that you pass protect and have these guys to be in the best fit position. But that's just speculation. I can't really give a real insight until I've watched these guys get day in, day out, practice in, practice out to see how they handle the people in front of them.
Too early to tell is what you're saying.
Too early to tell, man. I will never judge linemen with spider pads. Everybody looks great. Everybody looks great with foam pads on. When them things is live and they ain't really holding back anymore, and you getting ready to see full strength and people are fighting for opportunities to be starters, now we get to find out who you really are.
Got it.
Hey, Tony, you mentioned spring break earlier. You didn't play in the NIL era. If you were playing in the NIL era, where would have been your spring break trip, man? Would it have been Cabo? I mean, like a lot of the I love asking you because you're gonna have a great answer. But I mean, a lot of the guys go hit the head of the Cabo, I think, this week. Where would your spring trip have been, man, with all that NIL pocketed money?
It wouldn't have changed, man. I promise you it wouldn't have changed. I'd have been right there on the campus. Because for me, I was focused. Like I didn't take because look, here's the thing. It wasn't like we didn't get paid. Like we had Pell Grant, we had scholarship checks, we had
going
some
a
stuff.
different direction.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like, look, Pell Grant was nice, man. Get you $5,000, $7,000, $8,000. If you do it right, you can jump on some trips and have some homeboy hookups, man. I got some tickets for you, all that type of stuff. We had the ability to do that. For me personally, I just had a bigger vision in mind. My vision wasn't like, hey, let me celebrate now that I'm in college. Like the job's not done. You know what I mean? Like once I realized that it was real for me to be a starter at the University of Texas, and I had seen so many of the guys that I played right next to that were at the next level, that became my driving mission. Cabo can wait. He's going, like, the last time I checked, it's still going to be there. So for me personally, I would have done this. I would have done it the same way. A lot of people, one of the questions I get all the time is like, hey, in this NIL era with the portal, would you have stayed at Texas? Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Because at the end of the day, like, you don't know what's on the other side. Right. But I do know what's here. And so for me, I'm not looking to run from competition. I'm looking to infuse myself into it. And if I have the thought process that I am the best, then at the end of the day, I'm going to do everything in my power to control the controllables and let the chips fall where they may. I'm not going to run from that. So that's just how I feel. Now, let me preface this by saying I'm not knocking any of these kids that have left and gone to other schools. Hey, do your thing, whatever floats your boat, or find your lost remote. You know what I mean? But like me personally, I just believe that the man that I am today, a lot of that can be contributed to the fact that we stayed in the fire. So as you become a man, ain't no transfer portal when things happen in life. There ain't no life transfer portal. Like, you got to handle things. And so I'm able to take those experiences as a young man at the University of Texas and all of that fight that we had to have to get through certain levels and use that experience in my real life. So that's just me personally, my personal opinion. I don't have one. And if I did, I wouldn't say it out loud.
There's the truth at the end of the statement there. I love it, Tony. Hey, Tony, thank you so much for joining us today, buddy. We appreciate you very much. Root on the Longhorns as they take on BYU on Thursday. Maybe get a chance to watch that one. For Tony Hills, thank you very much. We appreciate you, bud. Nice. I
appreciate you guys.
Take care, man. Be good, brother. I can't wait. Tony's going to probably be down for the spring game. He'll get a chance to watch those young offensive linemen in person. I think he's going to see a quicker offensive line. I think that's going to be really apparent. And something tells me this is going to be a vastly better pass protection unit than they had a year ago. They're just quicker. They can get in front of people better lateral movers. So we'll see what happens.
It definitely lines up to outside zone.
Yeah, which is what he mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it lines up to that. So it will be, and I think that lines up more to your transfer running backs. Not Derek Cooper necessarily, but although he's very good in outside zone. I watched it from behind plays. He sets it up well, good timing. But I think it kind of fits the two running backs they got out of the portal too. So I think if people are expecting a scheme change in the run game, I'm not sure I see that. It'll be interesting to see based on who they recruited out of the portal at offensive line and at running back. So we'll see. But I do think pass pro is going to be talked about. I think it helps. I think it helps in the outside zone. The quickness to get the landmarks, to beat people to the landmarks. For sure.
All right, guys, before we get to some super chats and some questions from people, we need to tell everyone about a couple more sponsors. Bobby, I'm going to let you start with the Changing Austin podcast.
Yeah, I can do that. Look, how do we keep Austin itself while it's ever moving forward? So how do we build Austin's future without breaking from its past? Well, listen to Changing Austin, the new podcast. It's the question at the heart of the Changing Austin podcast, powered by Amplify Credit Union. Join host Stacey Armijo for bi-weekly conversations about how local organizations are shaping Austin's tomorrow. And this month, Changing Austin is kicking off its second season with new guests, including the head film buyer at the Alamo Draft House and the former president and chief programming officer of South by Southwest, which is going on now. You can visit www.changingaustin.com to catch up on the first season, then subscribe for season 2 wherever you get your podcasts. Visit www.changingaustin.com to join the conversation today. Again, www.changingaustin.com.
And Jerry, if you'd be so kind and tell everyone about Hayes City Store.
You want to know a great place to watch Texas men Thursday night? Hayes City Store, live music, great food. There are a few restaurants that once you go to, you immediately know they're just special. Hayes City Store is one of those places. It's scratch-made Texas comfort food. They've got their famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts. All of it's absolutely delicious, and all of it's from scratch. There's also live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice-cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs alone in their ice house, perfect for March Madness game days. And they even have brunch served from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Sunday. Hayes City Store is dog-friendly, and they have a tree net for kids as well. Join the folks out at Hayes City Store and bring your whole crew. For more information, check out the website at hayescitystortx.com. What is Hayes City Store? It's uniquely Texas, and it is a great place to go watch college basketball, college football, NBA, NFL, whatever you love. You can go watch those games, have a great time, listen to live music, and get a lot of tasty drinks and great food.
Love it out there, man. Hey, you also get a feel for the hill country a little bit.
Yep.
When you're out there. Hey, before we go any further, I want to say welcome to someone in the chat this morning. Jeff Howe, our friend Jeff Howe, his high school football coach apparently is in our chat this morning. Greg Powell, thanks, Coach, for joining us. You're saying some really nice things about Jeff in the chat. We could not agree more. Jerry and I have known Jeff for more than a decade now. Worked with him. Really, really good guy. Really good guy.
Yeah. And Greg joins us quite a bit. So that's awesome.
Yep. Love it.
All right. Let's see here. We got some super chats this morning, fellas, that we need to get to real quick. Rocky P here. Thank you, Rocky. Would you say it's easier to plug a freshman in on defense more than offense?
Yes.
Yeah, I think definitely at definitely at defensive back, definitely at maybe at an edge position, not on the interior defensive line, but I think on your more exterior positions, yes. Maybe not even inside backer, but those outside backers, Bobby, that edge, those secondary guys, much easier.
Here's the reality of it. Take running back out of it, because I do think that there's an element of running back where those guys, whether it's a Cedric Benson or a Jamal Charles or Adrian Peterson, who did it up at OU, I mean, you can be really good as a true freshman running back. I think the college football has been littered with it, right? Yeah. Throughout time. I think it's easier, generally speaking, to tell a defensive player, see ball, go get ball, than move in this, especially nowadays when there's so much pre-snap motion. There's, you want to try to line up the receivers 4 different ways. There's different kind of blocking on the offensive line. The offensive line is really clear. They need more armor or bigger bodies. I think it's easier from a defensive perspective to play early than an offensive one, typically. That doesn't mean there's not, Cedric Benson's that play as soon as they arrive, or Ricky Williams, or those types of guys.
Yeah. Running back and linebacker, I think, are the 2 most instinctive positions in football, especially like an inside backer. I think those instinctive guys, like Bobby said, the running backs, look, there's running backs that have to develop, right? They maybe hadn't played that position, but the guys Bobby's talking about, 100%. I think if an inside linebacker is that instinctive of a player, as long as he's got the size, strength, he can do the same. And I 100% agree with Bobby. Defense is easier to get on the field, save the interior guys. There's some special interior guys, but in the SEC, man, you got to be strong and you got to be in shape.
Yeah, I mean, look, A really good corner. You mentioned the skill position DBs. Really good corner. There's a couple different coverages. You don't have to learn 75 plays, whereas a true freshman receiver has to learn 75 plays. There's a little bit of that to it.
Yeah.
The playbook is not as deep.
And our next super chat this morning comes from Juan Garza. Thank you, Juan. Appreciate you as always. He says, is Coach Sark as a recruiting head coach better than Mac Brown was as a recruiting head coach?
Hot take here. And this is my hot take, and the answer is yes. And I'm going to tell you why. Mac Brown is the best recruiter this side of Bobby Bowden I've ever met when it's one-on-one. I mean, just phenomenal. Remembers the grandmother's name, the sister that worked at the school's name, and how many kids she has. Never will there ever be a guy better than Mac Brown at that. But that's not all of what recruiting is. That's one aspect of recruiting. And I will say that I do believe some of what Steve Sarkisian does is part of the times of college football. When Mac Brown started at Texas, he had a recruiting coordinator, one. Now Steve Sarkisian has a recruiting team, right? They have a GM. They have multiple recruiting coordinators on campus, off campus, people that take you through the various aspects of it. I think that Steve Sarkisian, the biggest thing I would say is the volume of elite players that they go after is categorically different than what Mac Brown did. And I mean that with all due respect to Mac Brown. All due respect. The game has changed, and Steve Sarkisian has done a great job of leaning into that change and being a fit for that change. Like, I'm not so sure that Mac Brown would fit this day and age as well as Steve Sarkisian does. That's my personal opinion. And I'll say this. I mean, then you have the situation where you can just go down and say, how many people are getting drafted? And Steve Sarkisian's having more players drafted than Mac Brown on an annual basis. And so the depth and volume is there. I do believe that there will never be anybody better one-on-one recruiting than Mac Brown or Bobby Bowden. I just one-on-one as a head coach. The entire group or the entire structure of recruiting, I think Steve Sarkisian's leaned into that and is really well fit, or uniquely fit almost. I mean, his idea of not going to a second guy or dropping down a level has proven right on. And I saw that happen time and time again, not just with Mac Brown when he didn't get the first guy he wanted, Jerry. I saw it with Tom Herman. I saw it with Charlie Strong. And I almost want to say that that's the one thing that has separated Steve Sarkisian from those guys. Not saying, okay, well, we can't get the guy that really fits us. We're going to go drop down a level and get somebody else. He just doesn't do that.
Yeah, I think what would be interesting to me about Mac today as a recruiter, because I think one-on-one, if you sent those guys, to Bobby's point, if you sent those guys into the in-home visit back-to-back for the same player, Mac's winning that 100% of the time. Maybe 99, but he's winning.
He's that good.
He's that good. Somebody in the chat said Mac could have been a great politician. The one thing I always jokingly, but was serious at saying at the same time, and this is like, I think the best compliment I could give Mac Brown, if he left football in his heyday and for a year just trained to run for president, he'd have been in the mix. Like, he's that good, man. I'll never forget. Buzzy Keith was the head coach at Dobie for a long time, or my dad coached. And Buzzy Keith was there for one of the high school coaching events. and this was early in Mac's tenure because Buzzy, I think, was getting older as a head coach at that time. And Mac talked to him for a few minutes. And years later, he saw Buzzy after he was retired. He didn't ask about Buzzy Keith. He asked about his grandkids by name. Those guys win votes, man. Okay. Mac had an amazing memory recall that's like unmatched that I've ever seen in college sports as a head coach. I think the most interesting thing, if Mac was coaching today in the NIL world, in the portal world, was would he have been try to be too much like Dabo has been?
Yes. That's my point.
That's the whole deal, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole deal, is because Dabo has a lot of the same things that Mac has in terms of, I think, the belief that would have been there.
Family and culture, maybe overboard a little.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think he would have been as hard-headed as long as Dabo probably about it. But I think that's the only thing that I would question about Mac today, is would he have been more on the Dabo path, or would he have adapted a little quicker than Dabo? I don't know.
Our next question this morning. Let's take this question from J Stone Drummer 85. Any updates on Seymour?
Asked about him again last week, and there were no updates. There were no updates at this time. He is busy. My understanding is he's busy trying to graduate from Western Kentucky right now, and trying to get down to Austin late May, early June. And I've been told they still have a lot of faith that this will get resolved positively for the young man. We'll see.
And staying on offensive line for a moment, Tex Van 09 says, is Melvin Siani smaller than Baker was, or just quicker and bigger?
Both.
Taller.
Yeah, he's tall. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Taller, not necessarily bigger. They're both stocky, well put together guys. He's also got longer arms, Jerry, than Brandon Baker does. But roughly the same size. Like Siani's a big dude now. Yeah. Brandon Baker's big. Siani's really big too.
And then let's go running back for a moment. Brandon Bowersock says, is there a real plan to get Michael Terry on the field? It feels like he is way behind other running backs right now.
I would not say way behind. I think that's a little hyperbolic. He is behind, obviously, Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers, but I think he's in the mix with James Simon and Derek Cooper. So what does that look like for him? Asking if there's a real plan, he's got to be worthy of that plan.
Yeah.
That's what people, oh, well, he was a 5-star. He must be worthy of that plan. That's not the way it works, in my opinion. You can add Brian Niblett to this group as well. I think that Michael Terry has to prove that he's as worthy, if not more so, than James Simon and Derek Cooper. That's just the bottom line for me. To say, is there a real plan? It's not, I don't know. I mean, the better question is, he's got to prove that he's worthy of having a specific plan for himself.
Yeah.
That's where he is in his development. It's not given, it's earned.
You know where can you bring that graphic back up real quick, Blake? Here's where I've always come out on Michael Terry as a running back and what he has to do. He is listed at 6'3", 227. He was about 217, 218 when he came out of high school. So if you look at this, what's Raleek Brown? Raleek Brown is a darter, a cutter. He can make multiple people miss in a phone booth. He is really good out of the backfield. What's Hollywood Smothers? A consistent runner. He can run it inside. That's not necessarily a strength. He can run it inside, though, because he's got really good leverage and understanding and fall forward and really good vision and timing. He sets up linebackers well. So you get the James Simon. And by the way, in that first practice I was at, Brian Niblett was the first to get reps, but move beyond that because that's not real reflective of how the running back position is going to be at Texas this year. It was Brown, Smothers, Simon, Cooper, then Michael Terry, Jet Walker after that. So Derek Cooper came in ahead of Michael Terry. So James Simon, if he's going to make a big move at Texas, I think it's going to have to be similar to Hollywood Smothers in the way they run. He's a little bit bigger frame guy in the way they run. I think all three of those guys in that top line are good out of the backfield. I think Derek Cooper is really going to be good out of the backfield. But then you get the Derek Cooper and Michael Terry. What's Derek Cooper going to bring? Yes, he's got the speed. Yes, pound for pound, he's probably the most talented guy of all these. But what's his getting on the field going to be for Texas to me this year? Is he the guy that can bring the interior just toughness and physicality to the run game? If he does that with 10.7 speed at 210, he's going to play a lot. He's going to work his way in. So then you get to a Michael Terry. What does Michael Terry have to do to distinguish himself from these guys? At 6'3", 227, you better be the most physical running back of these guys. Period. That's what he's got to do. He's not going to bring what Raleek Brown brings. Hollywood Smothers has played running back his whole life. It's instincts for him. Michael Terry is newer to the running back position. We were talking about that earlier, some freshman running back that can have impacts. It's those instinctive guys. I think Derek Cooper's got some running back instincts then. So what does Michael Terry have to do to be a guy that Texas starts to build a plan for? For me, he has to be the most physical guy on this list, especially in the SEC, because that is where the battle is. The battle is not for Raleek Brown snaps. The battle is not for Hollywood Smothers snaps. The battle is who's going to be the most physical back? Who is going to be the guy that can move the pile when you need to? Who's going to be the guy that in SEC games you can say, all right, we got to have somebody big that's going to lower his hat and kind of help us control a game at times, control some drives. It's got to be Michael. That's what Michael Terry is going to have to be to get that type of role. So he's got to take over. He's got to beat out Derek Cooper in that regard for me. Now, injuries are going to happen. All these guys are going to be on the field, but that's just my thoughts on Terry. If you're 6'3", 227, you better be the most physical running back on the field and maybe one of the most physical players on the field.
All right. Well, before we get to our last question or two, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone one more time about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
Absolutely. I can do it. Thank you to Adam Lowy and his firm, the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, reach out to Adam and his group for a free, no strings attached consultation to see if you might be due compensation. Again, no strings attached. Just reach out to him. LowyLawFirm.com. That's Adam and his group. They'll also sponsor State of the Program, which is coming up here in a couple of hours. Myself, Jerry Hamilton, and Rod Babers get together and talk about Texas football from a 30,000-foot level, try to discuss where they're going with this spring practice this year.
Hey, can I bring up a question real quick, Blake? It's a good one.
Yep.
Jason Wasson, do you think Texas will be gambling or recruiting on any more two-sport athletes? It obviously means football and another sport. That's a really good question, Bobby. There's just so few that can actually pull it off and be effective, be good at both, right? I mean, we talk about Kyler Murray, but Kyler Murray had 10 homers, like 47 RBIs, and was like an all Big 12 baseball guy. But that's also when he was not starting as the quarterback at Oklahoma, and Baker Mayfield was there. Once once Baker Mayfield left and Kyler became the starting quarterback, he walked away from baseball. He had to pay back that signing bonus to the A's. I don't know if people followed that. So Jameis Winston played some baseball, but I just there's not many guys pulling it off. And a lot of people have asked about the 2027 tight end, Ahmad Hudson, I believe it is, from Ruston, Louisiana, who absolutely wants to play football and basketball. He's a very talented athlete. I move on from that. That's just me. You might play against him. He's probably going to LSU anyways. You might play against him. He might end up being really good. But, Bobby, I think it's tougher nowadays, especially from an NIL standpoint, to make that investment if you don't think guys are going to be there for spring football. That's a big investment you're making for these highly ranked guys that want to play two sports. What's going to be your return on investment?
I think it's always an individual response to that. I don't think you say, I'm never going to do that again, or I'll always do that again. I think you take it one by one. Trying to apply blanket rules in recruiting never works. That's the one thing that never works in recruiting. Let's always do this. Let's only take corners that are 6 foot tall or over. Let's only take running backs that are 200 pounds plus. Let's only take quarterbacks that are at least 6'3". All of those blanket statements people make, football's as much as I say this, football is also a blanket game. You don't take Puna Ford if you only take 6 foot tall or 6'3" defensive tackles. I'm all about not giving like ultimatums as it relates to recruiting. I've seen too many anomalies in my life that were special, not just good, but special players. So guy wants to play football and golf for whatever reason. And let's just talk about whether or not we want him on our football team. Just my opinion.
Some people brought up football and track. I think that's a little different for me, by the way. I think football, and it's still not pulled off much anymore. But I think the football, basketball, baseball are really tough. I think they're really tough because your body in track is not, obviously you can have the soft tissue injuries, but when you go from in the college level, you go to sport immediately to sport, and there's physicality at all in that sport, your body's never really getting a chance to rebound. And somebody said, are you turning Rocky Port maybe laugh? Are you turning down Bo Jackson? Well, Bo Jackson's one of the top athletes of all time. But but we're also in the NIL era. Me personally, like Ahmad Hudson, the tight end at Ruston, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to invest big in NIL on a guy who's going to miss spring practice every year. He has to be a legitimately great player, because I think that's the tough thing is from an NIL perspective nowadays, because the NIL money is coming from football on these guys more so than the other sport.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, well,
that's what makes it tough as you make big NIL deal with a kid, he's not there for football very much. That makes it tough.
Your highest paid baseball NIL guy would probably be in the mid-teens to mid-20s in football. From a ranking perspective, just to give people an understanding of how that works, the different sports. I'll just go on about this and say it all depends on the player. I mean, you're going to tell me you're not taking John Elway at quarterback because he wants to play baseball? And he did, by the way. Good luck with that. Now, you would have been on the wrong side of history in that one. I'll just put it that way.
Well, we wouldn't take Andrew Luck without baseball. Sorry, I had to.
Hey, after we talk about Russell Wilson.
Or Russell Wilson.
Oh, man. All right, last one for today comes from Terrence Jones. Terrence, thank you for the super chat. Says, hey, Bobby, Blake, Jerry, are y'all going to be sitting for the spring game? I want to get a chance to meet you guys on my birthday weekend in Austin.
Absolutely. We'll be there. Not sure exactly where we'll be yet. It kind of depends on the weather. If it's cold and kind of breezy, we'll probably be in the sun. And if it's 95 degrees, we'll be underneath the overhang. That's kind of how it rolls for me at my age. I play by the weather for spring game.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by the Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. Excuse me. I'll get it out here in just a second. We want to thank Adam, along with Square Hollow, Changing Austin, and Hayes City Store, all for sponsoring today's show. Thanks to Tony Hills as well for joining us. And I want to say this one more time here. Don't forget, we have the On Texas Football Bracket Challenge. Last time I looked, there was like 200 people-ish that signed up for the men's alone. I know the women's is gaining steam as well. You can scan the QR codes. Password is capital O, capital T, capital F. and that'll get you in. Prizes include a 6-month OTF subscription, along with a hat and mug that Bobby is going to hook y'all up with for whoever gets first place. So come see if you can beat the OTF crew. That'll all be getting started here soon. So time is limited to get your brackets in. But yeah, scan the QR code and come join us. It'll be fun.
My bracket is still perfect after last night, Jerry.
Yes.
They give you the either or, and you get the either or.
That's that's easy. That one's easy.
Well, Bobby, what do you got for folks later today?
I mentioned earlier we got state of the program coming up. Then we also got a live stream later. We also have another special topic coming up, I believe. Jeff Howe, CJ Vogel going to get together, talk a little Texas football and some stuff going on behind the scenes there as well. I also have on TexasFootball.com. Make sure y'all check us out over there. Hank South doing a yeoman's-like work right now as the new managing editor at on TexasFootball.com after coming over from Horns 24/7. We got a spring sale right now, $39.95 for 1 year for new subscribers. If you use the code OTFOG, come be an OG with us over at On Texas Football, $39.95 for 1 year subscription. Thank y'all so much for checking us out and listening to us here on Coffee and Football this morning.
That's right. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell so you're notified anytime we go live, post content, whatever it may be. In between that and on TexasFootball.com, we got you covered around the clock. And of course, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. We hope you all have an outstanding day today. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em Horns.